I took the Pog Log into solo PvP and it actually worked. You may not see this weapon often, maybe you don't even know what it does. But today I will show you how to harness that big stick energy with build explanation, fight voiceovers and everything that you need to know. Should you try the Pog Log yourself? Well, let me ask it this way. Do you want to play effective meta weapons like everyone else? Or do you want to walk around with a big stick and pound people with it? Okay, but is the weapon any good? I hear you ask. And once again, you are focusing on the wrong questions. The correct question is, can I handle a stick this big? Jokes aside, I found out that this weapon actually has some pretty good uses. Mostly in the open world, where you can use its extreme mobility to get out of a tough spot easily. People also don't know what this weapon does, and you can use that to your advantage. For example, you can surprise people by flying at them from across the entire screen and dismounting them in a single combo. But hold on, what even is a Pog Log? Officially, this weapon is called the Grovekeeper and it resides in the Hammer's tree line. Its E has an incredible range, it's on a 30 seconds cooldown and places amongst the best mobility abilities in the game. Upon landing, it stuns whoever it hits, while in the air, it provides an iframe. Unfortunately, the E has a long casting time, which makes the iframing somewhat difficult to execute. It's also very slow to land, which gives your opponents plenty of time to react somehow, either by dodging it or popping some kind of defensive. You can prolong the stun duration if you hit at least 4 targets, which will basically never happen in solo play, so don't worry about it. The Grovekeeper has the slowest attack speed from all weapons in the game. Generally, it's not very good at brawling, but it's excellent at catching kiters. We'll talk about the build soon. Just know that you will need a Stalker jacket and a Pog Log. The strategy is quite simple and it pretty much resembles the old Bloodletter meta. Basically, you just abuse your extreme mobility and play like an absolute rat. You jump in, do big damage with your Stalker jacket and your Q combo, then you disengage, wait for your cooldowns and repeat the whole rotation. Ideally, you want to use your E to initiate and your W to run away. When using your W, make sure to dash through your enemies on your way out. This will slow them down and prevent them from catching you and punishing you. Ideally, you don't brawl with anyone unless absolutely necessary. When fighting melee brawlers, you don't have to use your E for initiation, as they will have to come to you. Instead, it's best to use your E for its cheeky little iframe and deny some of their offensives. If they realize that they can just simply dodge your E, you have a problem. In that case, you need to initiate with your W and disengage with your E. Don't feel bad about using your E just for its mobility. Yes, it does some damage, but it's insignificant. Your Q has a bigger one. Let's see some of this in practice. I use all of my skills to dismount these boltcasters from their ox. But it is not the boltcasters I will be fighting, but the Deathgivers. They saw me use all of my cooldowns, so now they correctly beeline straight after me. Luckily, I see they've chosen to go with the brawling skillset. This suits me, as I have no intentions of brawling with them. I just do my combo and then I dip. In this matchup, my Stalker jacket should be completely useless, as it can be countered by their mage ropes. However, they end up eating a surprisingly large amount of it. And once again, I just kite away. After clearing this camp, I notice a ganker sizing me up. I don't mind being ganked, so I pretend like I didn't see them. I'm hoping that they will start by using their invisibility potion, which would put me in an advantage. Not only would they start a fight without the potion, but after coming out of the invisibility, they would deal 50% less damage. My plan almost worked, but instead I start the fight with 1 bar of HP missing. You can see me cast my E underneath myself. I'm hoping to iframe their E, but I barely miss it. I space away to reset my cooldowns and leash the mobs. Now I have to drink my potion, so we start with the same amount of HP and the fight is now even. They pop their helmet, which telegraphs their intentions quite clearly. Once again I cast my E beneath myself to iframe theirs, but they didn't cast it. They have successfully baited me and now I am in trouble. Luckily the mobility of this build allows for a safe escape. If you are actually able to look where you're going and not run into a dead end like me here. Seriously, on so many occasions I have died because I didn't bother to look where I'm going. By a split of a hair I managed to get away this time and even get myself some chance to eat some cabbage soup, which will help me get back on my feet. When you see your opponent eating a soup, you need to either keep them in combat or eat a soup of your own. Otherwise, they can gain HP advantage over you very easily, like I did here. I pounce on my enemy before they realize what just happened. And once I see them pop their mercenary jacket, I space away. Even though the Pog Log is terrible at brawling, I have such a big HP advantage that now I can just ooga booga them and finish the job. By this point, I know that I have won the fight, as the extreme mobility of the Pog Log allows me to catch them easily. Such a beautiful day for a murder. While just chilling on this meadow and cloud watching, I meet this Bloodmoon Staff. I invite them to a party to check whether they are alone or not, which is something you should always do. I'm happy to see that they are okay with a 1v1. I don't even mind wasting all of my cooldowns to dismount them. I just love fighting against Bloodmoons. They have absolutely no mobility, so all I have to do is guide them around. Once they turn into the big bad wolf, I just walk away. No stress, no rush. I'm just being chilling until my cooldowns come back online. Once I use all of my abilities, I just kite away and wait for the next rotation. I even get a bit lost on the way, which forces me to use my mobility in a suboptimal way. This is not the best, because if I now use my mobility to catch up, I don't have any mobility to run away, at least not until my boots come back online in a few seconds, but they do just in time for me to run from their mercenary jacket. After grabbing my loot, I can use the mobility of this build to run away from the reds.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
Let's talk about the build. Because of its slow attack speed, the third passive is the only one that actually makes sense. You have no other option here. Get yourself some Stalker Jacket on the first passive, as you will solve your cooldowns with food. What food? Well, it's the omelette, of course, but make it at least 7.1. The reason for that is, from 7.1, the omelette also gives bonus to casting times, which you will find very useful for your E. Put on some Carrion Cape, although the Smuggler's Cape would also be a good option. Equip healing potions for most fights and keep Gigantify potions in your inventory to swap for if needed. For the rest of the build, you have several options. Like most hammers, the Pog Log is thirsty for mana, so you will have to fix it somehow. Either with a Scholar Cowl or with any basic sandals on mana sprint. If you go with the sandals, then for your head you can either go with Cowl of Purity or Cultist Cowl or Assassin Hood, whichever one you prefer. Here I'm facing a Warbow. I take my time inspecting them to prepare for the fight. They want to get dismounted, but at a distance, which is a correct play. Kiters like to keep distance between you and them. I could close that distance with my E, but I miss it, which means that now I disengage and wait for my cooldown to come back. No need to start the fight with such a disadvantage. I would like to bait them into using some of their mobilities into closing their gap. Sometimes people get bloodthirsty and give up on their distance. This player is smart, however, and doesn't do that, so I have to chase them myself. They slip underneath my fingers, so once I have no more mobility to chase them with, I disengage and wait for my cooldowns again. Once my cooldowns are back, I try to chase them again. This time they make a mistake, so I get to stick on top of them. I manage a lucky E-frame here. And now I just try to stick on top of them and pound them with my big stick. Fuck, motherfucker. When fighting against this Tombhammer, I change my Stalker Jacket to Inferno Shield. This is because both the Armor of Valor and the Cultist Cowl, which they are running, are perfect counters to the Stalker Jacket, so I cannot keep it. We start this fight with a game of dodgeball. I'm being annoying and running away because I'm waiting for my E to come back online. Yes, my build is terrible at brawling, but so is theirs, so just these ones I actually want to stay and trade hits. Once they activate their Armor of Valor, I just don't touch them. Damn, I expected this, but I was hoping I could iframe it. A point for them. And a point for me. I would like to brawl them with my Inferno Shield on, and they correctly ran away from it. Well, it's wasted, so until I get my next one, it comes down to the dodgeball. I just have to dodge their E's. That's what I'm talking about. Their next one should be up right about now. In retrospect, I should have started with my W and only 10 popped the boots. That way, the cooldown on the W would be shortened by the refreshing sprint. dodge their E, put up barrier for the potion, and that's it. This might have been the most fun fight I've had in a long time. Hitting the iframes is part of what makes this build viable. Against some matchups, you literally have to iframe correctly, otherwise it gets really difficult. Dual swords be like that, you cannot iframe them as a reaction, it's too slow for that, but often you can predict them going for the spin. Just make sure to cast the E underneath yourself, so that you don't miss them. Fire staffs, on the other hand, are extremely easy to iframe, as their E takes forever to wind up, so you just have to save your E to counter their E. Cursed staffs are tricky at first, but become easy once you learn it. You can use the buff graphic to help you time it correctly. If you go with the build explained in this video, press your E when the timer is about to leave the last bone. When exactly to press your E may change a bit depending on the food you are running and basically the casting time reduction of your build. If you have some time, it's best to test this yourself. Forge hammers are a weapon I'm closely familiar with. Their strategy is to get you inside their slowing aura and bash you over the head, so my strategy should be to not allow them to do that. I iframe their Q, stun them in the combo and dip. I don't even use my stalker jacket as I don't want to be anywhere near them when they are this chunky. They would get reduced damage from it anyway, but once they are small again, I have about 15 seconds to pounce. They are trying to bait out my E, but I don't have to initiate. But maybe I could bait out theirs. Being chunky gives them excellent damage resistances, so I only want to initiate once they are small again. The moment they pop their mercenary jacket, I kite away. Unfortunately, they catch up to me and get great value out of it. Once they become big again, I have to run away. I saw them using their assassin hood, so their chunkiness will probably be back again. That's why I'm very cautious about going near them. I wait for my W to come back before stepping onto them. I have my combo ready, but they have their mercenary jacket, so I need to have something to kite away from it. I see them use their W here, so I figure that now I can do my hit and dip combo, as I have my W ready, so they will not be able to catch me. Unfortunately, I grossly miscalculated that plan. I really don't want to brawl them, especially not if they are chunky, but I have no other option. This skeleton mage is both trolling me hard and then saves my ass by slowing them on my way out. At this point, I could run away and call it a draw, but I always carry a cabbage soup in my pocket. Since they didn't eat soup themselves, I can quickly out-heal them, then use my purity cow to keep them in combat and easily win this. But I miss it! I make my next big mistake by fighting them while they are on their chunkiness. But my HP advantage is too great, so maybe I can still outbrawl them. But once they juke my E, I know that I'm in trouble. I have nothing to run away from their mercenary jacket, so they finish me off. They did play this very good. By the way, Forge Hammers are very strong right now, and I happened to make a video on them just recently. Go and watch that one next.